My parents always said I was the dumb one. My sister got into Harvard, I got into construction. They laughed when I brought home my first paycheck. But 10 years later, I owned the company that built their dream house. And let's just say they learned what dumb really looks like. I was the disappointment of the family. That's not me being dramatic. That's literally what my dad called me at dinner once. My sister, Olivia, was the golden child. Perfect grades, debate team captain, piano prodigy, the whole deal. When she got accepted into Harvard on a full scholarship, the house became a shrine to her achievements. Every wall had her certificates. Every conversation somehow led back to, when Olivia graduates, me? I was the kid who barely scraped by in high school. I liked working with my hands, not books. When I said I wanted to be a mechanic or builder, my mom sighed like I'd just confessed a crime. Manual labor? She said. You're throwing your life away, Jake. They didn't know it yet, but I was about to build more than just houses. The moment I'll never forget happened during my sister's Harvard acceptance dinner. My parents had invited family, neighbors, and even Olivia's old teachers. Everyone toasted her. Then my dad stood, glass in hand, and smiled. That kind of proud smirk that cuts you when you know it's not for you. To my daughter, who's made us proud, and to my son, who's doing his best out there. The room laughed, everyone except me. I clenched my jaw and smiled. But inside, I burned. I'd been working part-time at a construction company, learning everything from foundations to management. I was good at it, really good. But to them, I was just the dumb one with the hammer. When Olivia graduated, they flew to Boston, business class. When I finished my trade certification, they forgot to call. That night, I promised myself something. If success was the only language my parents understood, then I'd make sure they heard me loud and clear one day. I threw myself into work. I started with long shifts on site, picking up extra hours just to stay late and learn from foremen, engineers, even accountants. 5 years later, I'd saved enough to start my own contracting firm, JH Developments. It was small at first, just me and 2 guys from my old crew, but word spread fast that we delivered on time, under budget, and better than expected. Within 2 years, we were managing luxury builds. Then I landed my first $1 million project, a smart home for a tech startup CEO. By the time I turned 30, I had 18 employees, a downtown office, and clients waiting months for my schedule. Meanwhile, Olivia, the Harvard genius, was drowning in student loans after switching careers twice. Her fancy degree hadn't turned into the life she expected. And my parents? They still hadn't visited me once. But that was about to change. One summer evening, my mom called. It had been years. Her tone was sugary sweet. Jake, you're doing so well, honey. My dad and I were just saying how proud we are of you. I almost laughed. Then she added, we're finally building our retirement home. Thought maybe you could help? Give us a good deal? There it was. I agreed, pretending to be thrilled, but in my head, plans started forming. They wanted a 3,500 square foot dream home by the lake. Marble kitchen, double garage, panoramic windows, the works. They assumed I'd do it for cheap. I did one better. I told them, for family, it's on me. They were ecstatic. My dad even said, maybe you weren't such a disappointment after all. That line stuck with me. Because he was right. I wasn't. And soon, they'd realize what disappointment really feels like. I drew up a flawless contract, legally binding, watertight, but with one key detail hidden in plain sight. The property, all materials, and completed structure would remain legally owned by JH Developments. They didn't read it. They just signed. During construction, they bragged to neighbors that our son's building our dream home. They'd visit the site, telling workers how I used to barely pass math, laughing like it was still funny. 6 months later, the house was done. It was stunning, and they invited the whole family to a housewarming party. That's when I made my move. The day of the party, they had banners, food, music, all in their new home. I arrived quietly, suit on, calm smile. My dad handed me a beer. "You did good, son," he said. Then he left. "Guess we finally got something useful out of you." I clinked the bottle with his. "Glad you think so, Dad." Then I pulled out a folder from my jacket. It was the contract and a legal notice of repossession. "What's this?" my mom asked. "It's just business," I said. "The house is still mine. You never made a payment." They thought I was joking, until my lawyer, standing beside me, confirmed it. Within an hour, they were out. Locks changed, security hired. The same people who laughed at the dumb one now stood on the lawn of my property, speechless. That night, I slept in the master bedroom, alone, with a glass of scotch and silence thicker than any applause. My sister called, furious. "How could you do this to Mom and Dad?" I said calmly, "They taught me how to value intelligence. I just showed them what smart really looks like." She hung up. A week later, she tried to start a smear campaign online, but I had every contract, every message, every recording saved. The internet sided with me. Even distant relatives messaged saying, "Good for you, Jake." But revenge wasn't sweet. It was hollow. Because when you finally beat the people who raised you to feel small, the victory echoes in an empty room. A year later, I sold the house. Not for profit, but closure. I used part of the money to open a scholarship fund for trade students, kids like me, who were told they'd never make it. Every time I visit the site where that house once stood, I remember my dad's toast. "To my daughter, who's made us proud, and to my son, who's doing his best out there." Turns out, my best built an empire. And that's a toast I can finally raise to myself.